You know, I said Zurich is my favorite Swiss city. Or if I didn't, I'll just say that now. Zurich is my favorite Swiss city. I went to Luzern, and I have to say that Luzern is now my favorite Swiss city. What you see here is the second train station of Luzern, built in 1896. Or I should say just the entrance portal of the second train station. The building itself burned down in 1971 and was replaced with this glass modern structure. An expansion of the station was also the reason they chose to fully rebuild it. It was starting to reach its limits in the 70s. Another factor was the trains running to Luzern. You have your standard gauge railway trains, and you also have the Zentralbahn, which is a meter gauge system. And try as you might, you can't really make them run on normal gauge. With my obligatory train nerding session done, what's so interesting about this city? Why do I think it's my favorite Swiss city? For starters, you got this picturesque view on the banks of the River Reuss. Then there is this bridge here, known as the Kapellbrücke. It dates all the way from the 1360s, but it lost about a third of its length among the years as the banks on the River Reuss just got, well, more built up. The tower in the middle of the river, it's about 30 years older than the bridge itself. Probably why they decided to build the bridge in the first place. It's probably a bit annoying trying to swim across the river or take a boat to get to the tower, which served as a prison and a torture chamber before switching to more dignified positions like a local archive or the treasury. Having an old wooden bridge is not unheard of. What sets it apart though are the paintings inside the bridge. The bridges in Luzern are the only ones in Europe to have this feature. Yes, I said bridges, there is another one. The paintings date to the 17th century by local Catholic painter Hans Heinrich Wegmann. They depict various events of Luzern's history, with an explanation written on the frame and the coat of arms of the local councilman who financed it present somewhere on the painting. They also showcase scenes from the life and death of various patron saints of the city. I completely forgot to get the relevant footage for this part of the video, so this image will do. A bridge made of wood has one glaring weakness, and that is, of course, fire. In 1993, a stray cigarette set the whole bridge ablaze. While that in itself is a great tragedy, an even greater one was the loss of 2/3 of the paintings on the bridge. While the bridge itself was remarkably rebuilt in a year, the paintings themselves were not so easy to replace. Only about 30 of them would be restored. But remember when I said the bridge was shortened? That shortened bit also had paintings, about 25 of them to be precise, and now they are hanged in the middle of the new bridge. It's a good thing they rebuilt the bridge, otherwise you wouldn't have access to this Instagrammable, picturesque banks of the River Reuss with the Rathaus, and if you feel called out, don't worry, I am guilty of the same thing as well. Over there on the hill is a place known as Chateau Gutsch. I didn't really have time to get to it, so this zoomed video will do. I'm reading its history and I'm seeing a very troublesome trend. This is the third hotel to promote tourism for passengers coming on the new Basel-Luzern railway line. The previous two burnt down. I guess when they call Luzern Überlit, they literally mean it. A place of the city that struck odd to me was the Jesuit church. It was completed in 1677 and has the honor of being the first Baroque-style church in Switzerland. And I find this odd due to the Baroque style being more prevalent in places like Bavaria or Austria, though some say that the plants might have come from a native of Vorarlberg, which was then part of Austria, so I guess it checks out? If you like paintings on buildings, Luzern has you covered. Take for instance this legitimate family tree. I know it has been restored along the years, but starting with a painting in this amount of detail is impressive. And it's not the only one. The Altstadt Square is flanked by different painted buildings, all detailing either a scene, some family's event, or an architectural style, as painting it is much cheaper than actually building it. If the Jesuit church looks Austrian, then the Rathaus looks Italian. It was completed in 1606 in the Renaissance style by Anton Isenmann, with the front of it reminding of a Milanese palazzo, with the roof being a more Luzerner farmhouse. Nothing significant to mention about this tower other than it was an observation or watchtower. At the other end of the Altstadt we find the Spreuerbrücke, another 1300s wooden bridge with interior triangle paintings that I forgot to film. It's like I planned this trip on a short notice or something. From this bridge you also get a glimpse of the Museg wall with their towers. The fortifications started to be built from the mid to late 14th century, with the Menliturm that we see here completed around the turn of the century. The fortification survived by sheer luck, as they didn't get in the way when the city started to be expanded. Other fortifications of the city weren't so lucky. If you followed along the wall, the other end would have taken you to this wooden bridge that I'm zooming to, known as the Hofbrücke. Unfortunately, it was dismantled in the 1830s. Its equivalent place on Google Maps would look roughly like this. In its place, they built this set of buildings here, which, admittedly, it is time appropriate to the architectural style of the late 1800s, and also it allows you to have a view of this. Luzern lies at the foot of Mount Pilatus, only a meager by Alpine standards 2,128 meters in height. You can get to the top of it on a cogwheel railway, admittedly the steepest in the world. It's something I haven't planned to do at some point. But that's not all. You also have Lake Luzern, one of the bigger lakes in Switzerland, stretching all the way to the canton of Uri. If that name doesn't mean anything to you, that's where the St. Gothard Road Tunnel is, or the St. Gothard Pass, or the most beautiful place you can take a car for a drive through mountain passes. And I will defend that statement. Don't believe me? Well, here's some footage from the other end of the lake. I just love this place. Forests, clear blue water, clear blue sky, mountains with snow. Yeah, this is the place I will aim to spend my retirement. Since I mentioned those alpine passes, but what the heck. Welcome to the middle of Furkapass as seen from a defunct terrace where we had some pretty good cheese and sausage. I'm really sad it actually closed down. I went through this place again 1 year later and yeah, we couldn't get a bite to eat. It's about 2 hours drive roughly from Luzern, but about from halfway your eyes are in for a visual treat, flanked by mountains as high as you can imagine. The pass itself crosses at about 2,429 meters. To put that into perspective, that's higher than most of the mountains in Romania. The mountains here have been carved by a river known to quite a lot of people in France as the Rhône. Furkapass is the source of the Rhône River. It starts from this glacier, and enjoy the sight of it as much as you can. It is melting at quite an alarming rate. It has maybe 10-20 years left in it. Someday in the future I also plan to drive around here again, take some footage and compare to see the stark difference between the footage that I'm getting when I'm filming then and the footage that you see now here, which was done in 2023. To give a bit more context of how much of the glacier has already melted, the lake that you see here, yeah? This was a giant sheet of ice. Now, just a bit of water and stone. And if you have the chance, I would say go to the glacier as soon as you can, for I don't know if you ever get another chance of entering this ice cave. I can definitely say it was a pretty cool experience. You are supposed to laugh. I guess one interesting side effect of the glacier melting is that you can now clearly see how the rocks were compressed under its sheer mass. Kind of like a footprint where the glacier was. Apologies for the wind noise, but that was just the perfect moment to capture it. That's a heritage steam rack railway train. It runs on the former Furka Mountain Railway, which was rendered obsolete as soon as the Furka Base Tunnel was open in the 1980s. They converted it to a heritage railway by dismantling the electrical equipment. Now, to return to Luzern from here, you can also take the other pass, known as the Grimsel Pass. Of note here is this dam. It dams the river Aare. Now, Aare is one of the bigger rivers in Switzerland that passes through the two lakes in between Interlaken, Thun, and goes all the way through Berden as well. I can't say for sure where the power is going from this dam, but I suspect it might go even to Luzern, maybe even Zurich. I think that about wraps up all the evidence that I have to present to you, dear viewers, about why Luzern is my favorite Swiss city. Good sights, good architecture, and damn near close to heaven on earth. I hope you enjoyed this unplanned, botched together piece of a video that I made. I didn't really plan on filming Luzern because I didn't expect it to be that good, and I didn't expect to have enough material to actually include the passes as well. That's a Swiss 777, by the way, filmed at Zurich Airport, one of my favorite airports to plane spot at. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. YouTube won't show that anyways. If you really hated it, comment as to why. And I will see you all until next time.